Consideration of a request for approval of the demolition of an existing home and construction of a replacement residence at 2050 Saunders Road. The owner is Brian Sack, and the representative is John Hershey, architect. Is there anyone at the board who has any conflicts of interest or ex parte contacts? Hearing none, we can continue. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for your time this evening. I am John Hershey, the architect for this petition. I want to touch on the highlights of our submission. We're requesting your approval for demolition as well as meeting the criteria for the architectural review. So briefly, a little history of the residence. Is built in about 1950. I believe you have a recent submission to your packet from a historian to support our understanding that, our proposal to you that this is not a historically significant residence. It's a modest residence, single story. It's had over the years a number of additions and renovations to it, and what character it may have had originally has been lost over the years. So we're proposing to demolish a large portion of the residence and then construct another modest addition residence that is of the same habitable square footage, approximately 4,000 square feet, plus a number of articulated elements to the facades. So just briefly, the house is situated well over 300 feet from Saunders Avenue. It is difficult to see from the road. And its house is currently over 100 feet, I would say, from the closest neighbor. Our proposed renovation is adding some square footage with a garage as well as some porches. So that's shown in the second item, the civil engineer's drawing, and there's some highlighting that covers the garage addition as well as porches around the perimeter. We like the idea of working with the existing foundation. You'll see that our proposal, the concept behind it is creating the living space as sort of a link between two wings of the home. We like that concept for our design. The current residence is a little awkward in the current pedestrian entry, if you will. The front entry of the house is what we would consider at the rear of the house. You have to drive around to the back, and so the presentation of that and the approach of the driveway is awkward. So we're presenting to rotate the entrance to what's considered the end, the east end of the residence, but three-dimensionally you'll see, and as you see in your packets, how that works. Briefly regarding landscape, without getting in a lot of detail in my presentation, but certainly I can touch on your questions. My client has met a number of times, in addition to our arborist, with the city arborist. And what we'd like to present with regards to landscaping for your approval tonight is slightly different than our submission. So for me to be clear about that, we're proposing removal at this time of only one tree, which is in the south porch, actually the southwest corner of the porch, which falls directly in our construction, and the tree is not in good shape as it stands. You have an exhibit in your packet, again, which clearly, sheet A1 is referenced, which clearly outlines a significant portion of the home that we're proposing to demolish. It is certainly in a large state of disrepair, and we can get into that if you have questions. And sheet A2 shows the proposed layout for the floor plan. And come back to that. A3 for the roof plan, we're proposing that all the roof pitches would be 712, with the exception of over center portion of the screened enclosure along the south, which we've reduced that scale to a 412 pitch. We think the scale of that works very well at the lower roof line of the renovation. So briefly, the east elevation now becomes our main entry for guests. The new garage addition is oriented to the east as well, and the drive approach is simplified rather than wrapping around half of the residence. We're proposing single overhead garage doors. They would be custom made, the wood cladding. Majority of the residents would be stone clad. The stone color and layering is shown in this mock-up we have in front of you. I will add that in our submittal packet, we talk about a thin stone. We actually would like to change that proposal, and we want to do a full 4-inch nominal stone thickness around the entire home. Other materials in the gabled areas only, we're proposing a stained wood shingle, cedar shingle. We have natural cedar shake roofing that we're proposing. All of the wood trim on the home is proposed to be in a taupe, if you will, color palette. The gutters and downspouts would match that. So A5A references the south elevation, again with the screened enclosure. We're looking at balance, but not necessarily 100% symmetry with this. We have also included in your packet what the residence looks like behind the screened enclosure. Again, that facade is going to be completely clad in stone, just like it would be if the screen enclosure wasn't there and was added at a later date. So it's consistent with the entire residence. Then we've carried the detailing of the residence all the way around with the gables and other fenestration. And then lastly, on the north elevation, you can see that the materials are carried through consistently. Again, a lot of this house is in disrepair, but there are some very nice, large sliding glass wood doors. And we'd like to propose that we will be reusing those doors to access the screen porch. All the other windows are not being salvaged. We're replacing those, or we're proposing new windows, and they would be in a taupe color, aluminum clad with wood interior. They would have simulated divided lights by a manufacturer of the quality of Marvin or Anderson. At the gables, we're proposing again in a corresponding color, a standing seam metal roofing pre-finish. So I will leave it at that and certainly open it to any questions that you might have. Thank you.
So as part of their submittal, the demolition criteria have been addressed. They've submitted appropriate materials to support the demolition. I would just like to comment that neglect or lack of maintenance really isn't a justification for demolition. I think in this case, the material that has been submitted in support of the demolition does address the criteria.
Are you guys using the exact footprint foundation that's existing?
For the habitable space, correct. And then the addition, or the garage is an addition, and then only the porches are additions to add some articulation to the residence.
And does it have a basement foundation, or is it?
The portion that we're proposing to keep has a basement. The rest of it is slab on grade.
And the cap on top?
The cap, we would, rather than do a copper or something like that and introduce another material, we'd prefer to use a pre-finished aluminum that matches the other metalwork on the residence.
Tell me again why you decided to move the main entrance from the north side of the
Yeah, I
house?
think architecturally it's just very odd. It doesn't work well. So on the drive approach, I find it professionally, in my opinion, to be very uncomfortable to have to drive around to what feels like the back of the house. We'd like to reorient that so that rear of the home actually does have yard space and acts in that way, and we eliminate a lot of the pavement associated with that.
I like it. I just, I think it's, strong statements, and it's simple, it's low. It doesn't offend me at all. There's a logic to it. I do like it, and I can support it.
One of the first comments regarding the location of the entrance, certainly being around to the courtyard side, especially if you're on the fence, I'd strongly discourage that. I feel it's extremely important that as we approach the residence, we can see a defined entrance, however modest it might be, and this is a modest home in its simplicity. So I think that's important.
I'm not in support of I think the screen porch is just too long. And so I appreciate again, the materials and the overall design simplicity, but for me, the screen porch is just too long. So I would like to see that adjusted. I understand other people don't have as big a problem, but I will vote no.
I personally think it matches the landscape of the area. You're in a rural type area, and I think that really, I think it matches it well.
I agree with that, and I think if it could be an open air well, you're going to want to take the screens down when they serve no purpose anyhow, so I think it might be an attractive colonnade, open air space.
We used to have the porch chopped up in a couple of two smaller porches at one point, and we met with Megan and we refined it. It used to be different, and I like it the way it is. This is my house. I know you people govern over everybody, but we're talking about something where, is it supposed to be good looking? Is the design guideline, as John says, or this gentleman here, it meets the criteria. It's a good-looking house. I'm going to do a good job on it, and you're stifling me. I bought the house on December 20th. Today's April 3rd, and now we're going to go farther and farther nitpicking. Oh, I don't like the porch, or I don't like the way the front. It's nonsense. That's bottom line.
We always are considerate of the petitioner. We follow our guidelines, and we have guidelines and standards that we have to work within. Thank you.
I move that we approve the demolition of the house at 2050 Saunders Road, and that we put the application for the new structure, refer it to a subcommittee, and then to be brought back next month, hopefully.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So the motion carries.
Okay, thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you so much.